anyway, that's sort of our story. It was hand to mouth for many, many years, and then COVID hit, and it became extreme. It was all of a sudden we were helping just a ton of people, and we enjoyed it, we loved it, but it kind of pushed us out of the garage and into a new facility, and now we're in an official store and doing all this, and it's exciting because now I can put in a cafe like I've always wanted to do, and I can teach classes like I've always wanted to do, and I can expand our offering into more than just food, things like freeze dryers and everything that just works with what we're doing. So I'm really excited about it. And along the way, people have asked a ton of questions. And for the most part, I didn't know the answers. And so I went looking for answers. So now there's a lot of answers in this little head of mine. And I just want to be able to answer your questions. If I can't answer them, I'll go research until I can figure it out, and then that's how we learn. We all learn by asking questions. So I'm going to open this up to you guys. If there's any, literally, there are no dumb questions. In my book, there are no dumb questions. If you don't know it, it's a question. And we're, happy to try to answer any questions that you may have. So I'm going to throw it out to you guys.
Where is your store?
Where is the store? Our store is right off the 500 East exit in American Fork. Do you guys know where the old Cal Ranch building is? Mm-hmm. It's right there, where the old Cal Ranch is. So right next to Standard Plumbing, literally right off the 500 East exit. The address is 675 South 500 East.
Did you used to be up in Alpine?
Yes. Yep, our garage was up in Alpine, hence Alpine Food Storage. That was the email I was using when we would send out stuff to our ward. And so it's Alpine. Yeah, it was Alpine Food Storage up there, but they annexed us out of Alpine, I don't know, 6 or 7 years into that. We're now in Highland, even where we live. It's Highland, so it wasn't Alpine. It wasn't just food storage anymore, and so we rebranded. Anyway, yeah?
What's step number 1?
Step number 1. Excellent question. Okay. I think I'm going to refer back to President Hinckley, who said, get a 30 to 90 day supply of the food that you eat every day. The comfort foods, the things that go to the store on case lot sales, or if you're going to go buy, one thing of peanut butter, buy 2 things of peanut butter. If you're going to buy a case of beans, buy 2 cases of beans. Does that make sense? Put 1 downstairs, keep 1 upstairs, however it is that, and I'll tell you this right now, guys, little tiny steps add up super fast with food storage. When I started doing this, I didn't have a great food storage, but it happens really quick. So I would say the very first step is gather the foods that are good, the comfort foods. Because it's a good chance that the crisis that you have, whatever it is, it might be a loss of a job, it might be all of a sudden, something happens. It probably won't last more than like 3 months. So you might just be eating comfort food and be totally happy to be eating comfort food, and that's kind of nice to have. So start with your comfort food and then go to your more long-term storage, what I term long-term storage. However, if you do eat your long-term storage, you're going to know how to use it. I'm saying rotate through your long-term storage even too, and learn how to use that over time. So, next question. There's a lot of people in here. Yeah?
I think it's better to use your food storage in your daily rotation, just to keep rotating it, because it's completely normal to have cases of spaghetti sauce under your bed, right?
So, I'm going to address that 2 ways. Yes, rotate through it if you remember to restock it. 2, don't worry too much about expiration dates. Okay, I'm going to go into expiration dates, so that's one that always comes up. Canned goods, things like that, there's an expiration date on them. We all have been blessed with noses and ears and eyes. The Lord's been really good to us. If you open that can of spaghetti sauce that's under the bed, and it's got a green layer on top, and it's fizzling and doing something really weird and smells strange, I don't think anybody here is going to try to force you to eat it. It's just not, you know not to eat that, right? If it smells good and it looks fine and it doesn't do anything weird when you open it, it's probably fine.
It's not fuzzy.
And it's not fuzzy. Well, would you eat it if it was fuzzy? See, we're smart enough we kind of know what our bodies want, what's good for us. You're probably not going to eat it if it's fuzzy. So if you guys, so someone's going to raise their hand and say, yeah, but what about botulism? And there are silent things that, in things, not necessarily in spaghetti sauce, but in like grandma's peaches might have not been bottled correctly. They may have, and you can't smell or taste or whatever. Okay, great. So bring it to boil or heat it up well, and the botulism's gone. Salmonella, botulism, all those things, they can't survive heat. Okay? So if you really are worried about it, you question it, heat it up. Make a peach cobbler with Grandma's old peaches. If you don't know how she bottled them and you're not sure that that's safe, make a peach cobbler or something with Grandma's peaches. Does that make sense? So even if it's old meat, we're literally eating like 15-year-old meat from the cannery. We used to go to the cannery. I loved going to the cannery. It's such a great spirit down there. Such an amazing spirit. We would go down there and can meat, and we'd take it home. And I had a big family, so I got lots and lots. But we don't eat canned meat. We eat fresh meat. So I have to remember to go down and eat. So we're still eating this canned meat. It's totally fine. Okay.
A lot of go to Bishop's warehouse.
Not to work. They don't do wet pack anymore out of the Linden cannery. They don't let you do dry pack. They don't even do dry pack there. I think if I understand correctly, everything is done up at the new amazing, huge, state-of-the-art location up by. Is it up by the old R.C. Willey and Redwood Road? Clear up North Salt Lake, clear up in Salt Lake by the airport. They have a beautiful, huge new facility. All right, not new. It's probably 10 years old now, or maybe older. But everything is done there under USDA code. That was their problem, is that people were coming in that weren't certified and they had a great time. It was such a nice thing. Whatever. But it's all legal now. It's all under. Not that it was illegal at the time. It's just that you know what I'm saying. They came in. They started putting in their safety layers, and the church just said, you know what, we're going to take this. I'm not saying anything bad to either way. We're going to take this. They built a new facility. They're doing it beautifully now, and then they send the product to the storehouses. Okay, the wet pack goes to the Bishop storehouse, right, for people to get, and the dry pack anybody can come in and purchase. So they do dry pack in cans. You can get stuff from the Bishop storehouse. Yeah.
So we can purchase it?
Yeah, the dry pack stuff. I don't think, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think the wet pack goes up for sale, right? The pears and peaches and canned meats and things like that, right? That goes to Bishop storehouse. Okay, that was my understanding. So, hey, other questions? Since we got the expiration dates out of the way.
So, I've had
Come on in.
I've had wheat in buckets for a number of years. I even at one time learned how to make bread from it, and I actually have done it.
Yeah.
However,
good for you.
I don't see it as the most practical thing in the world.
I agree.
If we lose power, we're not going to be able to grind the thing.
Unless you have a hand grinder.
Yeah, unless you have a hand grinder.
Okay.
But then you have to cook it.
Yes.
And if and depending on your situation, you may not be able to run your oven. What would you say is the most practical thing for people for survival food on a regular basis once you get past the comfort food?
Take away an oven, and it's a little bit tricky. So let me back up to wheat, okay? And if I haven't answered this whole entire thing, I'll get back to you. I think most of the world nowadays eats rice and beans. Rice and beans is a complete protein. We pretty much all know how to cook rice and beans, right? So I'm not saying don't store wheat. Store wheat, because that's what we've been told to do. I mean, we've been told wheat for man. Wheat's a good thing. If you have a hand grinder, you can grind it. You don't have to bake bread. You can make tortillas. You can make pancakes. You can make muffins. You can make waffles. You can make other things that will nourish you if you don't know how to bake bread. Okay, so think outside the box. Tortillas are fun. Tortillas are amazing, and they go with rice and beans. Yes, sir.
Several years ago in another state, we did an experiment, and it was with wheat. What can we do with wheat other than baked bread?
Yeah.
Was the
Yeah.
thing.
Love it.
One of the things that I learned was that if you have wheat in the number 10 can that has a
Oxy-pack in it.
pack in it, the oxy-pack kills the germ. Okay, and the nutrition is in the germ. So if you're in a bucket and you've got, say you're using gum or mint leaves or whatever to keep the bugs out, that wheat will probably germinate. And so
It'll be minty, but no, I'm just teasing.
then there you go. But then you can sprout it.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
from there's a whole myriad of things that you can do with
Yeah. So sprouting, you touched on a lot of things. Sprouting gives you basically a garden in the middle of winter, okay? And this wheat has so many nutrients in it right now. Once you sprout it, that grows exponentially. I mean, literally. You go from 6 or 8 really good ingredients to like 32 vitamins and minerals when the wheat is sprouted. Ooh, ooh. We totally understand children love. Don't worry about it. So, yes, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, an ounce of wheatgrass juice is like the equivalent of 23 pounds of vegetables. I mean,
It's amazing what happens. And you can sprout other things besides wheat. There's a lot of different sprouts you can do. So sprouting is a really, really great and amazing thing. 4 ways that I know of, besides gum, to preserve your food in cans or buckets, 2 of which will allow you to sprout, 2 of which will not. Okay? Oxypax and dry ice will kill the germ. He made a good point. It kills the nutrients because the nutrients are in the germ. Don't worry about it. You've all got wheat in your basement with Oxypax in them. They're going to feed you, okay? Ask a blessing on it, and the Lord will put the nutrients back in. I fully believe that. Okay? You've done your due diligence. You've put your work into it. Ask a blessing on it. You will get the benefit from it. Susie, did you need something, love? Okay. The other 2 things are bay leaves and diatomaceous earth. Let's add gum to that list. Okay. Spearmint gum does help. Does anybody here, raise your hand if you know, why are we putting Oxypax stuff, bay leaves, whatever, into ours? Why do we do that? Why is it not mandatory, but why is it a great idea to put something like that in when you store it?
Freshness,
Kinda.
to prevent moisture.
Who said it? Here, right here. Wait. Keep the bugs out. Really, bottom line is keep the bugs out. They have found wheat in the Egyptian tombs that sprouted. It's not a matter of it will go bad on you. It's a matter of they're coming out of these big, beautiful fields with bugs. And bugs lay eggs that we can't see. So even in the cleaning process, sometimes those bugs get in. Without oxygen, the bugs can't hatch, okay? Which is Oxypack and dry ice. They eliminate the oxygen, okay? So the bugs can't hatch. Diatomaceous earth, I know you guys are going, diatomaceous earth is from the old Bonneville, for example, the Bonneville seabed right here. Think of coral reefs, right? It's these little diatoms that all came together and clustered together, and we had these kind of reef-looking like things left over. When you mine that and powder it fine, under a microscope, it has little sharp shards. It's really a fine white powder, but it has little sharp shards. And it gets up underneath a bug's scaly outer layer and desiccates them. So it's a totally natural pesticide. You can use them in your garden. Don't do it on the whole garden, because then you'll kill the good bugs too. Do it where you have an infestation. It works for many bugs. People tell me that you can put a ring around your peach tree, you won't get peach borer. You can put it in water to spray. Like if you put it in water that you're spraying your trees with, it will dry, the sun then dries the water off and leaves the diatomaceous earth, and it helps with bugs that go into apples and things like that. So diatomaceous earth, think of it, nature's pesticide. You can take it internally, so if you have tossed your grains in it to keep, what happens then if a bug hatches in your grain, it will hatch because there's oxygen, but it gets that on there, it dies before it can make lots of other little bugs, okay? So you may find a dead bug or 2 in your stuff, but you're not gonna find an infestation, okay? So it's same with bay leaves. Bay leaves are actually toxic. That's why we're pulling them out of our, if we ate bay, like ground up, we wouldn't do great. It's not good for us. And to bugs, it's toxic. So the bugs, that toxicity that's in there, just even in a bay leaf being there, somehow the bugs just don't do their thing. That's why we don't grind up bay leaves. Anybody ever wonder? I did. Why don't you grind up bay leaves? You grind up cinnamon sticks. So anyway, so those things, bay leaves and diatomaceous earth will not kill the germ. So if you want to store some wheat or whole green peas, or some of the beans sprout really well. Garbanzo beans sprout really well. If you want to store some of the grains that do sprout, you can use those. There are certain grains that will sprout, certain that will not, unless you buy them whole, like a whole buckwheat or a whole. What's the other one? Sunflower. The sunflower seeds won't sprout unless there's the black part is around them. So there are certain seeds and grains that won't sprout unless, they won't sprout in the way that we normally eat them. Wheat sprouts just like this. Okay, so there's some that will sprout easier than others. Some of them you grow grasses, some of them you just wait till they sprout a little bit, you eat the whole thing. Sprouting is a great way to get nutrients. I'm trying to think if I completely finished your question. So
I'm not sure you have. So I'm
right.
trying to focus on, is there
what to do?
What are the recommended simplest kinds of food products to buy
Do you want me to say a freeze-dried meal?
It could be. I don't know.
Because I'm not going to say that.
So, I mean,
Yeah, because those are simple, right? Freeze-dried meals are simple, add water. The problem I have with freeze-dried meals is I'd rather see you store the ingredients because they store better separated. Once a food, think about this, once a little seed, which is perfect little seed by itself, and it does just fine with other little seeds. Once this little seed goes in the ground and it has all these other things around it, the chemistry changes, right? That's hence the sprouting, right? Either water or whatever, it all of a sudden it becomes something different and does something different. If you put a lot of different ingredients together, the chemistry doesn't do great. The oils and the dairy fats will go rancid. So be very careful. I'm not saying don't get freeze-dried meals. Just rotate them, okay? Within 2 or 3 years, those things go rancid and the food becomes almost inedible. I just don't like to see people investing thousands and thousands of dollars on freeze-dried for their family and then go in 4 or 5 years later and say, hey, we're going camping, I'm going to grab some really quick, and they can't eat because it's gone bad. Just be very, very careful. If the label says any oil kind of ingredients or dairy ingredients, it's very likely that within 3 to 5 years, those will start to go rancid and make the food not even inedible. I mean, even in an emergency, if you're eating rancid stuff, your tummy will not do well. I mean, it's like our body can't even eat rancid. Rancid's really hard. That's bad oils. We can't even eat it. Okay? So I would suggest, because we kind of have to have heat, we have to have a way to cook our food. Concentrate on finding a way to cook your food, because you're going to have to cook it. You can't, middle of December, you can't live on sprouts. It's a great thing to have, and probably you could. I mean, if you were forced to, and all you had was sprouts, you'd probably be okay. But you're not going to be too happy just eating just sprouts all day, okay? So I tend to go back to pioneer days. In my mind, I go back, the pioneers did this. They had a really simple life. Let me simplify mine. What can I do? Oh, I didn't bring my Dutch oven. That's why this big old hole's right here. Dutch ovens. I'm not saying, I'm saying this is just my idea, okay? They had Dutch ovens. They would throw whatever they could find in it, stir it up with water, and call it stew, okay? We can do things like that. For grains and beans, I love these stovetop pressure cookers. You guys probably all have an Instapot at home, right? This is just the unelectric version. This is what they had. The idea was to take this and make it electric. That's why you have Instapots. But nobody's asked me yet, but you might want to know. Beans, over time, kind of get harder and harder and harder. Grains will last forever and ever. Beans will get harder and harder. This will cook a 35-year-old bean and make it soft again. Okay, so pressure cooker's a great tool to have. A stovetop one. Tell you why I like it too. Because with very, very little heat, you can bring this up to pressure. It doesn't take a lot of heat or a lot of time to bring this up to pressure. With even less heat, like really minimal, like on my stovetop, it's clear down to as low as it goes. It stays to pressure. And you only need to cook. Grains go 10 minutes. Beans go maybe up to 35 minutes on some of the tougher beans. And you're done. Your food is done. You can take it off the heat and let it pressure down, and you've got food to eat. So this is a great one for whole grains and beans. If you have, I would say, put a Coleman stove aside. Store butane. Anybody know why butane and not some of the other fuels? Yes, exactly. You can do butane inside. Butane can be burned inside safely. Don't overdo it. I mean, if you're cooking a lot, vent a little bit. But butane is safe to cook inside. Okay. So butane, a Coleman stove, Dutch oven with some firewood or some charcoal briquettes, or a Coleman stove outside, or a propane stove outside. We'll do a Dutch oven, or we'll do one of these. There's a lot of different ways, simple ways. And if you really want to have fun, go get a solar oven. You can eat in the middle of August because you have to have the sun and it has to take all day. And if you want to have even more fun, go get, there's all kinds of fun little things you can do out there with alternate means of cooking. I tend to go back to, let's be simple. Let's start with the simple basics and then move on from there. So does that answer your question? I would say still store grains and beans. Make sure you have oils and things like that, but store what you guys are used to eating. If you want to store a year's supply of canned food, go for it. Just rotate it. And then you'll have the comfort foods that you want. You're still going to have probably to have some stove to heat that up with. Does that make sense? Did I answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. If there's others, yes, go ahead, and then I'll come up here.
What kind of oils should we
Excellent question. There are 2 oils that I know of that do really, really well long term. Anybody here know these before I throw them out? Yeah, you got them. You got them. Olive and coconut. Coconut oil lasts virtually indefinitely. It really does, and it's really good for you. If you get a really good coconut oil, it's really good for you. I don't fry with anything but coconut oil anymore. So frying, it's so light, so crisp, so amazing, and it's like you should eat it because it's really good for you. So donuts are like, cooked in coconut oil. They're okay. It's good. Exactly. Yes, it does have a higher smoke point. Exactly. So I would fry in coconut oil versus olive oil. Yes, absolutely. You're right on that one. Palm oil is even a little bit higher. Not quite as healthful. Also a really good oil. And palm oil does, if you get a good, I guess palm oil is a very good oil. It's hard to find a good palm oil. Okay. But palm oil or coconut oil. And then olive oil, if it's stored, where's my deal? If it's stored in a tin, because the tin takes out the light. Light and oxygen break down oils. No light, no air, and your oil stays fine. We've opened these 15 years later, they're totally fine. Now, because stuff in here is breaking down a little bit already, once you open a 15-year-old one of these, you're gonna probably have to either keep it cold or use it fairly quickly, okay? So it can go bad faster than your brand fresh one would. Just be aware of that. So if you do have a way to keep it cold, but you can use 15-year-old olive oil and it's perfectly good still. If it's 100% olive oil, guys, be really, really careful with that. The best test is not to read the ingredients because there's a lot of wiggle room on ingredients, okay? The best test is to put the olive oil in the fridge, do the fridge test. If it gets solid in the fridge, you got good olive oil, okay? So just be really careful. Do your fridge test on olive oil. Make sure you're getting a good pure olive oil. But olive oil, no light, no air, is better. Same thing with grains. Someone asked me at the last class I did, so do you store it in these? I'm like, I don't store it in these. I bring it to show in these because light will break down the nutrients. That's why you're putting it in a bucket that's not opaque, that's thick. So put it in a bucket that's thick and seal it, so the air isn't getting to it. Now, if you have bay leaves in there and it's in a good sealed bucket, that's not enough air to bother anything. But light and air break down food. Okay? Yes. Oh, can I get their question first? I didn't get your question.
Fine. I noticed a lot of your candies are like in the canning jar type things. Is that for convenience or is there a reason for that?
Convenience, just because that's the jars that I use. I wanted you to be able to see them. Obviously, canning's a great thing. So if we have to put out, something about canning, but yeah, I don't store in what I'm showing you right here just because I'm trying to show it to you. And if it was stored, you wouldn't be able to see it because I would have it, away from light. Did I answer your question? Okay, go ahead back to yours.
When I was a kid, Elder Busha.
I love Elder Busha with all my heart.
Okay,
He's a great man.
He came to our state conference.
Oh, I love it.
But anyway, he grew up in Germany during World War II, and he asked us the question. He says, "What do you think the number 3 trading commodities were during the war?" Number 1 was alcohol. Number 2 was tobacco. Number 3 was cooking oil.
Cooking oil, yeah.
And the reason for the cooking oil was that you could go down and you could dig up some roots, put a little cooking oil with it, and you could eat.
Yeah. Yep, and that I've heard that, and I agree. Can I just put a quick little plug in? Okay, remember I said at the beginning, my motto has always been eat what you store and store what you eat. So when he says, what do I buy? Canned goods. If you're living off, if you get your comfort foods, right? Get the things you're going to eat. But if you're storing some of this stuff, learn how to use it, okay? Because you're going to eat healthier. So my little plug for oil, I already told you coconut oil is an amazing oil. But in our society, we've tended to really be hard on oils. And we're now finding out that oils run your brain. It's like trying to run a car without any oil in the engine, okay? I don't know much about engines, but I know you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do it up here either, okay? We're now finding there's a lot of Alzheimer's happening because when I was a kid, it was all, no oil, no fat, fat-free, no. Oils are really good for you, okay? I'm just gonna throw that out there, especially if you're eating good oils. And what he said is absolutely true. The oils make you feel full, okay? Oils will make you feel satiated. They call it the satiety level or whatever. You feel more full and more content if you have a little fat in there going around. So oils are actually super good for you. Okay? Yes,
You
please.
didn't mention the olive oil in the tin. What about the coconut oil?
Coconut oil can just be, so that's kind of a cool one. We sell it in plastic. I've seen it in glass.
Just whatever it comes in.
You can open, you can close it. You can open all day long, and it will just not go. It just does not go bad. It's really, really. Now, everybody here know coconut oil? It's like a solid oil, right? I mean, at room temperature, it gets kind of slurry, and if it's warm. But in cold, it goes solid white. But so yeah.
And then is it ever sold in tins like that, or do you put
I have-
it in tins like that?
You wouldn't have to store it. You can store it in the plastic it comes in.
Sorry, going back to olive oil.
Olive oil, yes. We actually put it in tins. We bring it in huge 250-gallon vats, and we pour it off now because I can't find a company that I trust that's 100% olive oil that passes that refrigerator test that's putting it in tins right now. So the company I'm buying it from wasn't enough of a demand, so they said, you know what, do this on your own. And so we've gone ahead and bought the equipment and bought the cans and everything, and we're doing it on our own. So now we have, because I just couldn't get away from the tin. I wanted it in tins for you. Okay, I'm open to other questions. We have about 5 minutes left.
You're doing your own wet storage canning. So then, if you're trying to avoid the air, how high do you need to fill up liquid with that stuff to can it properly?
Are you talking about canning peaches in a bottle? Yes. Okay. I am not a professional canner, but I think, my tendency is to get as close to the top as I possibly can. I've heard people tell me you shouldn't put any, you go to the neck and just leave a good inch of head space. I've done both, and they both work out okay. So I brought this. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, quick question.
You're good.
Coconut oil.
Yes.
Because I bought some from the store, started off kind of liquid, but then not in the fridge, turns hard.
Is it in wintertime?
Right.
Even outside on the countertop, in winter, it'll be more solid. I actually use coconut oil in my hair. So my little jar in my bathroom in the summertime is kind of really slurry. And in the wintertime, I have to dig a little bit. So even from in a room temperature will change it.
It's not like a quality thing.
No,
It's just, that's just what.
Yep. I heard another little question coming up here today. Yes, go ahead.
I've heard between 1/4 and 1/2 inch from the top.
So I brought this really quick. If nobody else has any questions, this is a fermenting jar. This is like the sister to canning. Well, actually, this is the grandmother to canning. This is another fun way to be able to process, to preserve some foods. And it grows probiotic that our guts all need. Some of the really popular things to ferment are sauerkraut. So I'll give you a quick little, I have a few minutes left. In your very best probiotics you've taken over the counter, how many probiotics are in there? Give me numbers. Who has probiotics sitting on, they've taken probiotics? How many are in there? I've heard 13, I think it might be up to maybe there's some out there with 20, I can't remember, 20 probiotics. Our gut needs 250 different kinds, not the population, but different variety, different strains of probiotic, okay? The probiotics we buy in the store give us, yogurt has one. I'm not saying don't eat yogurt, it's great. Yogurt has one, help me out, basilica, you know what I'm talking about. It's that big long word, and I could say it, I'm having a brain freeze. But
Acidophilus?
yes, acidophilus. Is that it? It sounds close. Okay, so one, okay? Your probiotics have 13 to 20. Sauerkraut, cabbage, has 50. Cucumbers have 50. When you pickle cucumbers, so think about the way the world eats. Kimchi, sauerkraut, pickles, all that kind of stuff. They're pickling sauerkraut, they're pickling cucumbers. Those are the immediate things because that's why do women who are pregnant crave pickles? Because they're trying to build baby's gut flora too. They need cucumbers have all the gut flora, have that probiotic. So once you start, my next favorite is salsa. If you make a fresh salsa and you ferment it for 3 days, no longer than that because it's got tomatoes and it'll turn to sugar and turn to alcohol. 3 days is all on a salsa. Ferment that and you have the most amazing live. It's like you just made salsa. But it's like a pico, but it has kind of a little pico to it. It's really, really good. Plus you have all those vegetables in there that have just given you tons of probiotic. So not just a little plug-in for fermentation. Yes?
How do you do that? You just put it in the...
So I'll give you, yes. I mean, it's so simple. The pioneers did it in these big kegs. So there's the story at Hans Mill. I think there's a story I think it's from Hans Mill. Remember they were like you got to leave, you got to leave, you got to leave. The night that before they were supposed to leave, there's a little pioneer couple out there gathering all their cabbage, chopping it up into sauerkraut, putting it in their barrel so they could take it with them. They wouldn't lose their garden, right? This is something the pioneers did. You chop it super, super fine. They take the cabbage, chop it really, really, really fine, okay? The finer the better because it's more surface area for that stuff for the stuff to grow. So super fine cabbage, you weigh it on a scale, okay? Tear out, get your kitchen scale, tear out your bowl so that you're not weighing the bowl, weigh the cabbage, put carrots in it. I put caraway seed in mine, put onion in it, do whatever you want to make it pretty. I mean, happy put red cabbage, you can just make it up. Weigh it. For every pound you have, put in anywhere, see this is so generous, anywhere from 1 to 3 teaspoons, so one teaspoon to a tablespoon of salt. I use about 2 teaspoons of salt per pound.
Teaspoons or you said...
1 teaspoon to 3 teaspoons, then I changed it to tablespoons. So anywhere from a teaspoon to a tablespoon of salt per pound. Okay? I love real salt. I'll put a plug in for real salt. Okay. Then you toss all that up so that the salt kind of gets everywhere. And if you want to, if you have time, I never do. If you have time, let it sit for a half hour or so, and the salt starts drawing all the water out of the cabbage, okay? Or you start stuffing it in your jar, you open your jar, you put it in, and you punch it down with your fist, and you punch it down, and as you punch it down, all the water sort of builds up around it. Get it full. This is where your thing comes in, the headspace thing. Bacteria, bad bacteria, the kind that would grow in here, is an aerobic bacteria. It grows in air. As long as all your food is submerged underwater, it's anaerobic, and the bacteria won't grow, okay? Once you put this lid on, so you just punch it in there, close your lid. You can use these kind of fun things, or there's other ways to do it out there. This is the old European way of doing it, and it works fantastic, and it's just simple. There's not a whole lot of equipment. You put it on a cookie sheet because it's going to, over the first 2 days, it's going to be really active. These little bacteria are going to be so happy. And it's going to kind of leak out here. What happens is because of this seal, it's tight, all of the oxygen that's in here is going to be pushed out by the fizzling and the chemical reaction that's in here. Oxygen that's out here is not putting a lot of pressure on this, right? All the pressure's in here. So it's going to press out, but no oxygen can get in. Does that make sense? You can leave this on the countertop with cabbage for up to 6 months, but you can start eating it after a week. I would probably go 2. 6 weeks is a really good ferment, really excellent for your gut, but you could start eating it after the idea. Once you're finished, you go, that's taste about right. Stick it in the fridge, and then it'll quit the fermentation. It'll slow way down the fermentation. Please, yeah.
Don't you need to use non-iodized salt? Because I've heard the iodized.
So I use real salt, which is not iodized, and I have never used an iodized salt. So maybe I'll go research that.
That prohibits it from growing.
You might be absolutely right, and I would prefer a non-iodized salt because most salt has natural iodine in it if you don't take it out and then have to put it back in again. So yes, you're probably absolutely right. I'm sure you're right. Okay, guys, I think we're supposed to be done, and I don't want to keep you from other class. I will, after my second class, I will be out here in the hall. If anybody has any other questions, I'm happy to answer them. Or you can ask Susie for my number, and I'll text you. Yeah.
You don't have to finish till on the hour.
Oh, I don't? No. Oh, we got time. Let's keep going. Sorry, thank you for that. I thought I was going to let you guys go. Oh, you're right. Thank you.
Do you do that with cabbage or cucumbers?
Cucumbers, I have done cucumbers. They're tricky because you have to catch the cucumber just fresh out of the garden to keep it crisp. I've got to master cucumbers. They're a little harder. Cabbage is so easy. Cucumbers, if you want a nice crisp pickle, a little bit harder. Go ahead. Yes.
Can you touch on methods for sprouting?
Yes. 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 That's a great question. And again, I have sprouted, but I'm not the expert. So there might be another class here that'll give you better information.